I think Andrew was bullied as a kid. Andrew, were you bullied as a kid?
Well, I used to hang around a lot of older kids, so I got punked around a lot. But at the same time, I also used to do some bullying. I was in the middle. I was like a Bart Simpson type. I had my Nelson Munces. You know who my Jimbo Jones was?
Hmm.
This girl named Candace.
That's why you're a bitch. You got
Uh,
see. All right, guys. See how he turned away? I have figured it out. Andrew got punked by a girl when he was little, so now he's taking it out on all you motherfuckers. All right,
man,
now I get it. Baby D done fucked with Andrew. Now
it
we
was only
here.
one time.
Hey, but it seems that it's there, bro. It's there. It's there.
Bro, everyone had it way worse than me. I guarantee you had a fucking situation. And I was a kid, bro. Like
Bro,
fucking
I had a dude at the arcade pull my ears and call me Dumbo and pull me under the yeah. I was like 8 years old. I walked in the arcade. I put my quarter down on like Bad Dudes because the Bad Dudes was the game.
yeah.
I was like 8 years old. I put my quarter down on Bad Dudes, and this dude just leaned over. He's like some crip. And he pulled my ear. He's like, "Hey, Dumbo," and he just pulled me straight down to the ground. And he's like, "That's my quarter." And I'm like,
Well,
"Damn
the
it!"
thing about me is like what you said, what we have in common with that is like Candace was a lot older than me, you know? So I was like in fifth or sixth grade and she was like a sophomore or junior in high school.
Wait, why were you getting fucking bullied? Did you punk her
She
little
lived on
brother?
our street.
Did you punk her little brother? Oh,
I don't
because
know.
that's usually how a big sister comes into play. Like you don't just
I
like
was cool. Like my dad was cool. I didn't know any of them. I think it's because she also hated my friends who were going to high school with her at the time,
what
but
would
she
she do to
couldn't.
you, or what did she do to you?
She would just fucking try and push me around, like physically push me. It was, and one time she just pushed me on the floor, and it's like I'm a boy. I can't hit a girl. You know, that was my mentality back then.
Yeah,
And as a man, I don't believe in hitting women. You know, and it's like I couldn't do anything to her, and I would always get like pushed around by her and shit because she just didn't like me and my friends, and she thought, you know, I was the smallest
fuck
one.
your reviews. You
Like
were reviewing candy and shit. Fuck
the only
you.
kids who were younger than me were my friend, my neighbor Daniel's brother Kyle, who was like a lot. He was like 3 years, 2 or 3 years younger than me, and his friend Rusty, who they were in the same class with.
Fuck
But
yes.
they never hung out with when they wouldn't hang out with us. I was always the fucking target because I was the youngest. But when they were around, we used to fucking
Did
get
you
them
hang out with
back.
kids from your school? Like, wait, that's not like I'm not asking that question for a setup because I had to go to a different school outside of my neighborhood. Like
Hmm.
I had to take a bus. So when I came back home, like everyone's talking about what happened at school and shit. I'm like, oh, I don't know because I don't go to your
So
school. Did you go to
like
school with your neighborhood kids?
I did go to school with my neighborhood kids, but we weren't in the same classes.
Okay, okay.
Like because we went to year round school and we were all on track systems.
Oh, you were that weird kid back in the day?
Everyone was that weird kid back in the day in my fucking town. We all had track A, track B, track C, track D. I was in track
Block
A,
schedule.
and then my friends had fucking track B, track C. So we were all fucking like we never really got to hang out until like June and shit, you know, in the summer. And then once we got to middle school and we got summer vacations, that's when shit, you know, that's when we started hanging out more. But like I remember I had like two groups of friends. The friends I had at school, like who I was in class with, right? Because they were like all of us were wrestling fans, but they were WCW kids, right? And I was still friends with them. We play basketball and football and shit and hang out with each other because you know in elementary school, at least the one I went to, nobody really mingled outside of their classmates, you know. And then like I had my neighborhood friends who lived on my street or were hung around my street, and it was basically like imagine the kids from Recess and having the kids from Rugrats having two different crews, you know.
Yeah,
That's how my fucking
that's how it
circles
was for
were.
me. That's
And
how.
like we'd have like so many different friend age ranges in our friends groups. We'd have like at one point we had a fucking like this bald skinhead named Buzz who fucking hung out with us, and he was in his 20s, and we were like all 8 or 9 and skating with him and shit. He was cool. He wasn't a racist skinhead. He was just a bald punk, you know.
I have questions for Buzz. Why he was hanging out with 8-year-olds?
Bro, he was cool as fuck. He was just hanging out skating, and we would show up with our skateboards, and like I could tell he didn't want to hang out with us, but he was just like nice about it because we were all skater kids and shit.
Oh, because you guys were at the skate park.
You
Wait,
don't
you grew
want
up
to hear,
skating?
huh?
You grew up skating.
I did. I wasn't that great. I could do kick flips and heel flips and ollies, but
You know
I
what's
never.
crazy is I hung out with some of the most biggest professional skaters when I was like 16, 17, 18, 19, and never touched a skateboard, but hung out with hella
Yeah.
skaters, bro. Hella
What, you get them
skaters.
their weed and shit?
So anyway, actually, nah. Actually, I mean, I ain't gonna mention his name, but you know who you is. You had that bull rider. You know who you are. Nah, we was the party kids, man. Like the town or the area that I lived in, Claremont. Our crew was like the party crew. Our house was the party house because there was like what 5 kids living there between 18 and 19,
Mhm.
and there were some parents that lived there, but they stayed in the back. Shout out to Becky and Paul, rest in peace, love you guys. But
Those types
we
of parents always rule. The ones who always hang out in the back.
bro, their room was in the back. They didn't fuck with us. They'd come out for a beer or two here and there, and Paul come out like,
Yeah.
But we threw the parties, bro, and I'm not kidding. I would call up somebody like, "Yo, let's get a keg." All right, cool. We'd get a keg. We get it fronted by Keg and Bottle down the street. Because they knew we would charge for the keg, bro. We would call 2 or 3. We'd drink off the keg, like 5 or 6 of us, and then be like, "All right, let's have a party." And then boom, another keg would show up. Next thing you know, a fucking party like every Friday and Saturday. But that all led into like hanging out with a bunch of pro skaters, bro. And I remember sitting at like parks and shit, going, "Yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
a skateboard. I don't know what I'm doing, but this is cool."
Hey, you want to hear a funny bullying story?
Is it about the girl?
No.
Nah.
This was when I was in high school. So I'm hanging out with my friend Daniel, right? After school one day, and we're waiting for the beeline and shit. And when I was a kid, like I didn't want to get in too much trouble because I knew like if I did something, I would get a lot of trouble and shit, right? So I was
Very
always calm
respectable.
and reserved. And this was also a few years after the fake blood incident. So at that point, I was a little shook. And I remember we're standing in line for the Beeline, which was the bus service in our town that would like go from the school to the mall and back and shit. And they had other routes and shit, but the one we were taking took us home and shit. So we're standing at the bus stop, and my friend Daniel was like, "Fool, you need to stop being a pussy, man. You need to start doing cool shit." Because him and everyone else was doing all this dumb shit, right? Just getting in trouble, and I was the only one just trying to stay out of trouble. Like, fool, you need to start fucking doing shit, bro. You need to stop being a fucking pussy. You gotta fucking learn how to fucking be a fucking man, bro. You gotta grow some fucking balls, bro. I bet your fucking balls haven't dropped, fool. And he's just fucking trying to punk me and shit, trying to like get me motivated. But I was also a stoner. I was probably stoned that day because, I smoked every day before school at one point from freshman year. So we go on the bus, we go sit in the back like we usually do, and it was like it was like an hour after school because like I remember like we were fucking playing football or some shit with our friends. So we got on the bus, no one's in there except for this one cholo dude. And this one cholo dude who's like in his 20s and shit. And I'm sitting down and Daniel's just like still being a dick and he's like, "You gotta fucking toughen up, fool. That's why fucking girls won't fucking fuck you, bro. Unless you fucking be cool like me and shit." And he never got pussy himself, but he was saying all this dumb shit. He's like, "You gotta toughen up." And he just started pushing me and shit. Like, "You gotta fucking fight back, fool." I was like, "Bro, what the fuck, dude? Chill." And this cholo sees it, right? So we're halfway to our home. Daniel pulls out a CD player. He starts listening to it, and I think he had an Eminem CD because that's pretty much mostly what he listened to. And then this fucking cholo dude's like, "Hey, let me see your fucking CD player, dog." And then Pico's like, "Oh yeah, check it out, fool. Isn't it dope?" Because Daniel wanted to be in with those fucking cholo dudes and shit. But then the guy was like, "Thanks, fool." And then he fucking hit the
Snatched
bus
it.
stop. The bus stop, and he just fucking bounced. He's like, "You can give it back, fool." And he's just like, "Nope." And he left the bus. And then Daniel's sitting there next to me the entire time, quiet. And then back in the back of my mind, I was just like, "Bro, you should have
Did you get?
fucking done something, dog." But I didn't want to say anything because I could tell he wanted to cry. But that was like instant karma right there, bro. It's like, yeah. See, I never got it that bad. I never really got it. Like, there were some kids who fucking, like, one kid fucking, like, got fucking spray painted and shit for some
Like in
reason.
colors?
just not in the face, but
Oh, okay.
like a bunch of kids like hated him. They tackled him, and they just started like spray painting him like
What the?
fucking a bunch of different colors and shit. And then they started like kicking him before he tried to get away. It was a like I it wasn't at my school. It was at a nearby school that I heard about. But yeah,
I got a funny bullying story. So when I worked, my first job was at Jack in the Box, and it was
funny
in the.
bullying story is not really something that should be uttered. Anyway, go ahead.
I have a bullying story that led into a funnier story.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, these kids from the local high school worked at Jack in the Box, and this kid came in, and they actually didn't bully him. This was the thing. His name was Masturbate Nate. They called him Masturbate Nate because I guess one day he whipped it out in like ninth grade at a field trip, and then that's that. The Masturbate Nate it was. So that was his name. That was his high school career was Masturbate Nate. Anyway,
Man.
so he comes into Jack in the Box one time, and the two dudes, uh, fuck, we called them two tacos, and then it was Ronnie.
Mhm.
These dudes are like, "Hey, that's Masturbate Nate. That's the dude we was talking about." I was like, "Nah," you know. So I don't say nothing. They don't say nothing. But as I start taking this dude's order, I notice he notices them, and he's just like, "Can I get two large?" Like he's starting upping his order, and I'm like, "Okay," you know. And he's like, "Can I actually have like six more tacos?" I swear to you, he probably ordered like $70 worth of food. These dudes are back there cooking his food and all this shit. They don't fuck with it, you know. Like it's just like they don't even care that he's really there. They're like, "Oh, the masturbate Nate's here," but that's him. This dude, masturbate Nate, was pissed. I watched his whole thing go down. He gets his food, he sits down, and he's like staring at him. He starts eating his food and shit. He literally finishes like almost half his food, walks right up to me and goes, "I would like a refund. This food is disgusting." And I'm like,
Oh,
so I was like, "All right, no problem." And like I literally was like, "No problem." But what happened was is our fucking drive-through got backed up. Every time he was ordering something, the guy, his name, we call him Two Tacos, he would kind of like drop his shoulder, like, "Fuck, bro, we're trying to get through this drive-through," you know?
mhm.
And that's why Nate kept ordering. He's like, "Oh, yeah, let me get this. Because he ordered like probably like 20 different hamburgers and like
Mm,
10 different chicken sandwiches, a bunch of fries. I was just like,
mm,
"Bro, what the fuck?" And then asked for a refund. When he leaves, I asked him, I said, "Hey, bro, why did he do like, what was that all about?" He goes, "I called him Masturbate Nate this morning after he told me not to." And I was like, "At school?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Because I walked by him, I was like, 'What's up, Masturbate Nate?' He goes, 'Don't call me that.'" And then he said it again. I was like,
Damn.
so I'm like, "This dude comes in here and finds out you work here?" I'm like, "You got," I was like, "He's gonna come in here all the time and do that shit now." He actually did it one more time on like a weekend shift.
Oh,
But yeah, shout out to you, Masturbate Nate, for getting like $40 worth of fucking Jack in the Box free that day.
bro, that I respect that. I respect that shit, bro. That's
I remember he was side eyeing the
talk
fuck out of
talk
me.
about flipping the tables on
He
someone,
made him
bro.
cook
That's
for him and shit.
fucking beautiful, dude. I remember one time on the beeline, like one day it was like I was in like seventh grade, and I used to hang out on the back with all the eighth graders and shit, right? You know how the back of the bus was
Oh
and
yeah.
shit. So I'm sitting in the center seat, and my friend Sean is sitting like on the window seat to my right, and there's a couple people between us. And back then it was always packed, you know.
Right.
So it was always wild, you know, in those days. Fucking one, and then one day, like we're in the back, I'm sitting down, I'm talking to somebody to my left, and out of the corner of my eye, I see Sean get up. I see him chuck a battery to the front of the bus, and I heard and there was a thump, and then I heard a girl go, "Ow! What the fuck?"
What?
And then I turned around, and looked at Sean, I was like, "Oh damn!" And this fucking cholo dude in his 20s comes storming up right in the middle of the bus, clearing people out of the way. And then he gets in my face. He's like, "Where'd you fucking throw that shit?" And he grabs my shirt. It's like, "I didn't fucking throw it. I didn't fucking throw it. I'm right here, dude." And the other people were around me. "He didn't fucking throw it. He didn't fucking throw it." And they were pointing to my friend Sean. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, "Bro, I threw it. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry." And then the fucking cholo lets go of me. And you can tell he was in the wrong. And still he didn't want to admit it. So to try and save face, he just looks at me and goes, "You're a fucking check, fool." I was like, I didn't do
Yeah, I
anything.
didn't throw the battery.
Yeah.
Oh
Fun
man,
times,
he
man.
said fun fucking
Like
time.
at that moment, I was scared shitless because this was a dude who was obviously like either 19, 20 years old. He's tatted up and shit, and he
You're
was
like, I
with
ain't fucking with
his
that dude.
fucking. He's with his underage girlfriend and shit. This was obviously a dude who did not fucking play around. And I was scared. I thought I was gonna die, dude.
He
Like,
said, I was gonna die.
because like like the high school I went to, or the middle school and high school I went to, they're right across the street from each other, right?
Oh
There was
shit.
this incident in 2000 where this kid named Raul Aguirre, he tried to break up a fight between like this gang, a gangbanger and these Armenian kids, and then the Armenian kids ended up beating him to death, and he died like right in front of the middle school. I just
Ooh.
remember like hearing about that shit because that was right when I was going into that middle school. In the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh fuck, man! Oh fuck!"
Hell
I was so
no.
scared. And my friends, I had friends who knew that guy too, so they were all fucked up from that shit. So it was fucking like going to fucking middle school and high school was kind of a traumatic experience, you know. Like there was always fights and shit, race wars between the Armenians and everyone else and shit. Like it was wild. And fuck, recently, like the school had to get fucking the high school I went to had to get shut down or put on lockdown because there was a huge brawl between like Armenian kids and the football team and shit.
Oh shit.
And the football team's season had to get canceled. And this was a I don't know if this was pre-pandemic or right after the pandemic, but it was like a big deal and shit. But like, yeah, like everyone thinks Glendale's like this nice place, but there's some shit going on there, bro.
He said there's some shit going on. I
Like
remember.
these, I think it was also once home. Sorry to cut you off to the American Nazi Party, either that or Locker Center, one of them areas.
Yeah, I'm stay away from all that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Where was American History X filmed at?
Venice,
Oh yeah, huh?
yeah.
That was a great movie.